Citroen Berlingo, people carrier. I have to admit, I'm not a biggest fan of French cars. I'm not condemning all of them, but in general, I'm not a biggest fan. But there's something about these ugly little French carriers that I just don't know what it is. Yeah, I seem to have a lot of affinity for them, and I'm going to try and explain why, because it's important to the review of the car. I think it's because these vehicles are designed for a specific purpose, obviously ferrying people to and fro, and that's the first thing that comes to mind, but it's done in their very economical and basic elementary way, is what I like about this. It does what it says on the tin, for want of better words. There's nothing flash, it's nothing ostentatious, it's just basically basic, and that is what's lovely about the vehicle. Now, the actual layout of the dashboard, first thing that comes to my mind is I can see the dials on the instrument cluster, speedo, rev counter, fuel gauge, and thermometer. First of all, rather very easy to see. Everything is visible. There's nothing, shall I say, impeding my vision, obstructing it in any way at all. In the center here is another information console, which is a fantastic location. I can cast my mind and my eyes onto this and still maintain peripheral vision with the road ahead. Now, on the subject of vision in this car is fantastic. The mirrors on the left and the right, the side mirrors, are absolutely enormous. I can see almost anything in those mirrors at the size of the mirrors that I would come to expect on a commercial vehicle like a van. They are absolutely fantastic. The rear view, well, let me see. It's actually not too bad. There's a large screen at the back and everything. Looks pretty clear to me with the windscreen. I'm not staring down through it. I'm staring out through it as if it's there at the same level as I am. It's fantastic. There is a manual, goes up to 5 gears. Obviously, these are not big engine cars. The problem I find with the smaller engine vehicles generally is that they can be a bit jittery, especially changing through the gears. This one isn't. It purrs along nicely. In fact, the engine is very quiet. There's a lot of noise. No, there's not a lot of noise at all. And if you consider this is not exactly the most aerodynamic of vehicles, and I'm driving along now at 55 miles per hour, the sound of the wind breaking off the vehicle is nowhere near as bad as you would expect. It feels very sealed, secure, even though not a lot of room at the front. So I would say I wouldn't like to be in a collision with this vehicle. Well, I wouldn't want to be in a collision with any vehicle, but I think you know what I'm saying. There's a bit of room up there. It's bit better than a van, I suppose, but you do feel like you're strapped to the front of something, so you do feel a bit vulnerable. The all-round vision of the vehicle is actually very good. There's nothing really obstructing my vision at all. If I would say anything was a little bit clumsy, it would be the B pillars. They are quite large and chunky. There's absolutely enormous headroom in this vehicle. In fact, there is so much headroom, there is even a shelf above my head here, which I think I could probably get a lunchbox in there. It's that big. You know, there's something about this vehicle I like. And for me to say I like a Citroen is really quite an achievement. Really, it's a very rare achievement as well. It doesn't have the idiosyncrasies you come to expect with French cars, like quirkiness of these Citroens. I suppose it's a little bit quirky in some ways, but it seems to be more moderately designed, contemporary, and doesn't really aberrate and deviate from the main flow of design. It's a cute little vehicle, and I think for many people this would be a great little work car. You know, it's great. It really is great. I think it's I think it's just wonderful. As I say, the transition of the gear is very smooth. The gear stick maybe going to third feels a bit uncertain, but that might be more the wear of the car. But generally, it's a very high score on the gears. I'd say the car purrs along. Purrs along lovely. It really does. I can even hear the engine. The engine is so quiet. My attention's not on it at all, and it's all fantastic. The car does wobble around a little bit, but if you've got to make some sharp movements, I do feel myself sort of thrown out of the chair a bit. So it'd be nice to have had chairs that sort of wrap around your back a bit more, but they do have armrests that come down, and it does give you some more support, I suppose. If I was to continue on the subject of the driving position, I'd have to say that I do kind of feel like I'm sitting on a bit of a perch, but to compensate for that, the steering wheel is nice and high, and it seems to balance out and work out rather nicely, actually. It's a little bit edgy on the corners, but it is a little chunky vehicle. But for nipping around town, school runs, picking up folks, this would be great. There's nothing claustrophobic about this vehicle at all. It's got heaps and heaps of space. It really is. I really feel like I could slob out in this car and kick back and just drive to wherever I've got to go. Obviously, this is not a flash vehicle. It's not designed to hold any road presence as such. You know, you're not driving this one for vanity or image, but it is a brilliant little tool. This is a vehicle which will serve its purpose and take every, it will take every box as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who's thinking about buying one of these will have this type of vehicle in mind, because they want the vehicle for a specific purpose other than just, A to B, more for running people around the car, shopping, etc. This has heaps of room. This is like a little van. In fact, basically, it's so much like a van, it could almost be one. I'd be very surprised if you're thinking about buying one of these and you were disappointed. It's a great little vehicle. It's a great drive. And no matter how hard I try to find something wrong with this car, I can't. I think it's fantastic. A fantastic Citroen. How about that?